The online ad looked like a total scam. $5,000 a week. A live-in nanny role for a 5-year-old girl. No previous experience needed. Sitting in my tiny Boston apartment, I stared at the screen, my finger resting on the mouse. Everything in my head told me to close the tab, but my bank account showed a pathetic balance of $247.63. Rent was due in exactly 5 days, and I was $800 short. Shutting off my brain, I hit apply. The very next day, an unknown New York number flashed on my phone. Miss Bennett, a crisp, formal woman's voice greeted me. I am calling about your nanny application. Mr. Falcone wishes to interview you. Can you be in Manhattan tomorrow at 10 in the morning? I gasped. Tomorrow? That is really sudden. Mr. Falcone prefers to move quickly. The position needs to be filled immediately. A driver will pick you up at 8 in the morning. I assume you are still at 42 Huntington Avenue, apartment 3C? A cold chill hit my chest. I only put my email and phone number on that form. Wait, how do you know my address? We run extensive background checks on anyone applying. It is standard protocol. Her tone suggested this should be obvious. The car will arrive at 8. Please dress professionally. Good day, Miss Bennett. She hung up before I could ask more questions. That night, I scoured the internet for a Matteo Falcone connected to childcare in New York, but found absolutely nothing except hundreds of Falcones in the area. The listing was incredibly vague, just mentioning a private household. No company name, no photos, nothing to indicate who I would be working for. Red flags everywhere. I should have declined. But $5,000 a week for watching one child. That was more than I made in a month as a part-time barista with a useless art history degree. 1 month of that salary would pay off my credit cards. 3 months would clear my student loans. 6 months would give me enough savings to actually pursue the museum career I dreamed about. So, at 7:45 the next morning, I stood outside my apartment building. I wore my only professional outfit, a navy blazer and black pants I had worn to exactly 2 job interviews, both unsuccessful. I clutched a folder with printed copies of my resume. At precisely 8 o'clock in the morning, a black Mercedes pulled up. The driver, a broad-shouldered man in a suit that screamed security detail, opened the back door without speaking. Miss Bennett. I nodded, my throat too tight to respond. Please, he gestured to the interior. The car ride to Manhattan took 90 minutes, during which the driver said absolutely nothing, despite my attempts at conversation. We crossed into the city, navigating through morning traffic to the Upper East Side, stopping finally before a limestone townhouse that probably cost more than I would earn in 10 lifetimes. 4th floor, the driver said. His first word since we had left Boston. Ring the bell. Mrs. Lynn will meet you. The townhouse entrance was intimidating. Heavy wooden door, brass fixtures polished to a mirror shine. Security camera discreetly positioned above. I pressed the bell, hearing melodic chimes echo inside. The woman who answered was Asian, perhaps 60, with steel gray hair pulled into a tight bun and sharp eyes that assessed me in one sweeping glance. Miss Bennett, I am Mrs. Lynn, the household manager. Follow me. The interior was breathtaking. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that looked like it belonged in museums. We climbed a curved staircase to the 4th floor, stopping before double doors that Mrs. Lynn knocked on twice. Enter, a male voice called from inside. Mrs. Lynn pushed open the doors, revealing an office that was all dark wood and leather. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and windows overlooked a private garden. And behind that desk sat a man who made my breath catch in my throat. He was younger than I expected, mid-30s maybe, with thick dark hair swept back from a face of sharp angles and strong features, olive skin, full lips, and a jaw shadowed with precisely maintained stubble. But it was his eyes that held me frozen. Dark, almost black, intelligent and assessing with an intensity that felt physical. He wore a white dressed shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle and covered in intricate tattoos that disappeared beneath the fabric. More ink peeked from his collar, suggesting extensive work across his chest. Miss Bennett. He stood, and I realized he was tall, easily over 6 feet, with a presence that seemed to fill the room. Thank you for coming. I am Matteo Falcone. His accent was subtle but present, Italian vowels softening his English. He gestured to a leather chair positioned before his desk. Please sit. I obeyed, my folder clutched like a shield. He settled back into his chair, those dark eyes never leaving my face. Tell me about yourself. The standard interview question, but his tone made it feel like an interrogation. I launched into my rehearsed response about my education, my work history, my love of children, all carefully edited to hide my desperation and lack of actual childcare experience. He listened without interruption, his expression unreadable. When I finished, silence stretched uncomfortably long. "You are 26 years old," he said finally. "Boston University graduate, art history degree, currently working at a coffee shop. Despite your expensive education, no prior nanny experience, no childcare certifications, no references from families you have worked with." He leaned forward slightly. "Why should I trust you with my daughter?" My rehearsed confidence crumbled. I'm responsible. I learn quickly and You need money. It wasn't a question. Your credit card debt is $8,000. Student loans total $47,000. You are 3 weeks away from eviction if you don't make rent. You applied for this position because you are desperate, not because you have a passion for childcare. My face burned with humiliation. "How do you know all that?" "I told you. We conduct thorough background checks." He pulled out a folder, sliding it across the desk. "That is your entire life reduced to data points, Miss Bennett. Financial records, employment history, education transcripts, even your social media activity for the past 5 years." I stared at the folder, too stunned to open it. "That is an invasion of privacy. That is due diligence. My daughter's safety is paramount. I don't take chances." He leaned back, studying me. "But your financial situation, while relevant, isn't necessarily disqualifying. Desperation can create loyalty if properly channeled." "I'm not desperate," I lied. His smile was thin. "You are here, aren't you?" I should have walked out. I should have told him to take his job and his invasive background check and his condescending attitude, and shove them all where the sun didn't shine. But I needed this job. I needed it so badly that I swallowed my pride and met his eyes. "What do you want to know?" "The truth? Why do you want this position?" "Because $5,000 per week would change my life. It would pay off my debts, give me savings, allow me to actually pursue a career instead of surviving paycheck to paycheck." I lifted my chin. "You are right. I am desperate, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be good at this job. I'm smart, I'm adaptable, and I would never do anything to endanger a child." Something shifted in his expression. "You are honest, I appreciate that." He stood, moving to the windows. "My daughter, Sienna, is 5 years old. Her mother died when she was 2. I am raising her alone with help from Mrs. Lynn and my household staff. I'm sorry for your loss. Don't be. It was 3 years ago." His tone suggested that topic was closed. "Sienna is intelligent, strong-willed, and doesn't trust easily. She has had 3 nannies in the past year. None lasted more than a month." "Why?" I turned to face him. "Because my work requires unusual hours and frequent travel. Because Sienna tests boundaries constantly. And because the women I hired were intimidated by my lifestyle." The pause before lifestyle was loaded with meaning I couldn't quite decipher. "What kind of work do you do?" I asked. "Import, export, international business consulting." His answers were vague, deliberate. "Nothing that concerns you directly. But it means I need someone flexible, discreet, and unafraid of unconventional situations." "Like what?" "Like security protocols. Background checks on anyone who enters this house. Restrictions on social media and communication. Non-disclosure agreements about my family and business affairs." He crossed his arm, the gesture emphasizing his muscular build. "This isn't a typical nanny position, Miss Bennett. It's more comprehensive." "You mean controlling. I mean protected. My daughter's life requires certain safeguards." He moved back to his desk, pulling out papers. "If you accept this position, you will sign contracts agreeing to confidentiality, security measures, and behavioral expectations. You will live here full-time, have your own suite, and report directly to me about Sienna's progress and needs." "What about time off?" 1 weekend per month after the first 3 months. Any emergency leave requires my approval." He slid the papers across the desk. "Read these carefully. If you have questions, ask now." I picked up the contracts, scanning pages of dense legal language. Non-disclosure agreements that seemed extreme for a childcare position. Clauses about termination at employer discretion. Requirements about approved visitors and communication monitoring. "This is insane," I said. "You're basically asking me to sign away my freedom. I'm asking you to agree to reasonable security measures in exchange for excellent compensation." His expression hardened. "Sienna's safety is worth any inconvenience to your social life. It's not about my social life, it's about basic privacy, which you will maintain within reasonable boundaries. Your personal space will be yours. Your time off will be yours. But while you're working, while you're caring for my daughter, you follow my rules." He leaned forward. "Take them or leave them, Miss Bennett. But decide now. I have 2 other candidates interviewing this afternoon." I looked down at the contracts, my practical side warring with my pride. $5,000 a week. No rent, no food expenses since I would be living in. I could save almost everything, be debt-free in 6 months. But I would be trapped in this house. under constant surveillance, bound by contracts that gave Matteo Falcone complete control over my life. How do I know you're not some kind of predator? I asked. That this isn't cover for something darker. His expression didn't change. You don't. You take a calculated risk based on what you know. I'm offering excellent money for legitimate work, verified by contracts and employment law. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't bother with legal documentation. That's not reassuring. It's honest. He stood. 10 minutes, Miss Bennett. Read the contracts, make your decision. I will be back. He left through a side door, leaving me alone with papers that would change my life, and doubts that screamed I should run. I read every word carefully. The salary was real. $5,000 per week paid bi-weekly, with health insurance and a $10,000 signing bonus after 3 months. The duties seemed straightforward. Care for Sienna, supervise her education, accompany the family on trips when required, but the restrictions were extensive. All communication monitored, all visitors approved. Non-disclosure about family matters enforceable through financial penalties. Termination at any time for any reason at Matteo's discretion. I would be completely at his mercy. My phone buzzed. A text from my landlord. Rent must be received by Friday or eviction proceedings begin. 3 days away. I had $247 in my account. When Matteo returned, I looked up from the contracts. My decision made by desperation and the tiniest thread of hope. I need the signing bonus within 48 hours, I said. And I want a clause that if you terminate without cause in the first 3 months, I receive full compensation for that period. His eyebrows rose. You're negotiating. I'm protecting myself. Like you said, calculated risk. A slow smile spread across his face, transforming him from intimidating to devastatingly attractive. Agreed. Anything else? 1 personal phone call per day, unsupervised, to my mother. He considered this. 15 minutes at a scheduled time with general location blocking on your phone. I need to know you're not disclosing sensitive information. It was more than I expected to get. Deal. He pulled out a pen, making notes on the contracts. Mrs. Lynn will show you to your suite. You start tomorrow. The signing bonus will be in your account by end of business today. I signed, my hand shaking slightly, as I put my name on documents that bound me to a man I didn't know, to care for a child I hadn't met, in a world I didn't understand. What had I just agreed to? Mrs. Lynn led me to the 3rd floor, down a corridor lined with artwork that probably cost more than my college education. She stopped before a door at the end of the hall, producing a key. Your suite, she announced, pushing it open. I stepped inside and immediately understood why the salary was so high. This wasn't a bedroom, it was a small apartment. Living area with a plush sofa and flat-screen TV. Kitchenette with a mini fridge and coffee maker. A bedroom with a queen-sized bed that looked like sleeping on clouds. And a bathroom with a rainfall shower and soaking tub. Sienna's room is next door, Mrs. Lynn said, gesturing to the left. Mr. Falcone's master suite is on the 4th floor. Do not go there without explicit permission. Understood? Understood. Breakfast is at 7. Sienna wakes at 6:30. You will get her dressed, bring her down for meals, supervise her throughout the day. Her schedule is posted here. She handed me a tablet. Educational activities, playtime, rest periods. Follow it precisely. I scrolled through the schedule, which was color-coded and detailed down to 15-minute increments. This is very structured. Mr. Falcone believes in routine. It provides stability for Sienna. Mrs. Lynn moved toward the door. Your belongings will arrive tomorrow. For tonight, clothes and toiletries are in the closet and bathroom. Dinner is at 6. I will collect you at 5:45. She left before I could ask more questions, the door clicking shut with a finality that made my new reality sink in. I was here, committed, trapped by a contract and my own desperation. I explored the suite more thoroughly, finding the closet stocked with expensive basics in my exact size. How had they known? The background check, obviously. They had probably measured me from surveillance footage without me realizing. The thought should have terrified me more than it did. At 5:45 precisely, Mrs. Lynn knocked. I changed into the casual dress I found in the closet, pulled my blonde hair into a neat ponytail, and tried to look like someone who belonged in a multi-million-dollar townhouse. She led me downstairs to a dining room that seated 12, though only 2 places were set. One at the head of the table, one to its right. Matteo was already seated, now wearing a black button-down that emphasized his broad shoulders. He looked up as I entered, his dark eyes assessing. Miss Bennett, I trust your suite is adequate. It's beautiful, thank you. Sit. He gestured to the chair beside him. I obeyed, acutely aware of his presence. The way he seemed to command space without effort. A young woman in staff uniform appeared, serving soup that smelled divine. Sienna is having dinner in her room tonight, Mateo said, breaking bread with elegant hands. I noticed his knuckles were scarred, suggesting a history of violence his expensive clothes tried to hide. I wanted to discuss expectations before you meet her tomorrow. Of course. Sienna lost her mother at a vulnerable age. She has built walls, tests everyone who tries to get close. The previous nannies took her rejection personally and quit. He fixed me with that intense gaze. I need someone who won't give up on her. Someone patient and consistent. I understand. Do you? He leaned back slightly. My daughter will likely hate you at first. She will misbehave, ignore you, possibly even try to hurt your feelings deliberately. Can you handle that? I can try. But I can't promise success if she's determined to reject me. At least you're honest about your limitations. He took a sip of wine. Tell me about your fam, Miss Bennett. The background check covered facts, but I want to hear it from you. The question felt invasive, but I supposed I had signed away my right to privacy. My mother lives in Connecticut. Remarried after my father died when I was 12. I have a stepfather I barely know, and 2 half-siblings I see on holidays. We're not close. Why not? Because my mother chose her new family over maintaining our relationship. I was a reminder of her past, and she preferred to start fresh. The words came out more bitter than I intended. So you understand loss, abandonment. He studied me over his wine glass. That might help you connect with Sienna. She also feels abandoned, even though her mother's death wasn't a choice. Is that why you hired me? Because I have daddy issues? His lips twitched, almost a smile. I hired you because you were honest, desperate enough to commit fully, and because something in your file suggested you are stronger than you appear. He set down his glass. Also, Sienna needs someone different from the previous nannies. They were all older, experienced, professional. Maybe she needs someone younger, someone who won't treat her like a delicate project. The soup was replaced with a main course I couldn't identify, but tasted expensive. We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Mateo spoke again. You will have questions about my work. Don't ask them. Why not? Because the answers could endanger you. The less you know, the safer you are. His tone was casual, but something dark flickered in his eyes. Your job is Sienna, nothing more. But if something happens, you follow the protocols Mrs. Lynn will teach you. You take Sienna to the safe room. You don't ask questions, and you wait for my instructions. He cut his food with precise movements. This house has security measures you don't see. Trust that you're protected. From what? Things you don't need to worry about if you follow the rules. He looked at me directly. I'm trying to protect you, Miss Bennett. Let me. The way he said it made my skin prickle. This wasn't about privacy or control. This was about genuine danger, the kind that required safe rooms and security protocols. What had I walked into? After dinner, I retreated to my suite, my mind spinning. I called my mother using the 15 minutes Mateo had granted me. Chloe, how did the interview go? I got the job. I'm moving to New York, starting tomorrow. That's wonderful. Tell me about the family. I chose my words carefully, conscious that the call might be monitored. Single father, 1 daughter, very wealthy, very private. The money is excellent, but my mother knew me too well. But something feels off. I can't explain it. Trust your instincts. If something is wrong, leave. I signed a contract. I need this money, Mom. Silence on her end, then a sigh. Just be careful, and call me if you need anything. After we hung up, I lay in that enormous bed, staring at ornate ceiling molding and wondering what morning would bring. Would Sienna really hate me? Would I last longer than a month like the others? And what exactly was Matteo Falcone involved in that required safe rooms and security protocols? I woke to soft knocking at 6 in the morning. Mrs. Lynn's voice called through the door. Miss Bennett, time to wake Sienna. I dressed quickly in jeans and a sweater from the closet, pulling my hair back. Mrs. Lynn was waiting in the hallway, her expression neutral. Sienna's room is here. She opened the door beside mine. Wake her gently. She's not a morning person. The room was a child's dream. Canopy bed with princess decorations, shelves of toys and books, a reading nook with cushions, and in the center of that canopy bed, buried under blankets, was a small lump that didn't move when I entered. Sienna? I approached carefully. Time to wake up, sweetheart. No response. Sienna, it's morning. We need to get you dressed for breakfast. The lump shifted, and a small face appeared from under the covers. Dark curly hair, olive skin like her father's, and eyes that were shockingly blue instead of brown. Probably inherited from her mother. She looked at me with undisguised hostility. Who are you? I'm Chloe. I'm going to be helping take care of you. I don't need help. Go away. I understand you're upset about having someone new, but I said go away. She threw a stuffed animal at me with surprising force. I caught it, keeping my expression calm. Sienna, throwing things isn't okay. I know you don't know me yet, but I'm here to help. I don't want your help. I want my mama. The raw pain in those words broke my heart. This wasn't just a spoiled child acting out. This was a little girl grieving and angry at the world. I sat on the edge of her bed, far enough to give her space. I can't bring your mama back, and I won't pretend I can replace her. But I can be your friend if you let me. I don't need friends. She pulled the covers back over her head. Okay, but you still need to get dressed and come down for breakfast. Your dad's rules, not mine. I stood. I'll give you 5 minutes to decide if you want help picking clothes, or if you want to do it yourself. I waited by the door, watching the lump under the covers. After 3 minutes, she emerged, glaring at me. I dressed myself. I don't need you. That's great. I'll wait here while you do. She climbed out of bed, moving to her massive closet with deliberate slowness, clearly testing if I would lose patience. I simply leaned against the wall, pulling out my phone to scroll through the daily schedule Mrs. Lynn had sent. Sienna emerged in mismatched clothes, striped shirt, plaid pants, one pink sock, one yellow. She looked at me defiantly, waiting for criticism. Ready for breakfast? Her eyes narrowed. You're not going to make me change. Why would I? You dressed yourself, and you're comfortable. That's what matters. Confusion flickered across her face. Clearly, previous nannies had fought this battle. I simply held out my hand. Come on. I smell pancakes. She didn't take my hand, but she walked beside me down to the dining room. Mateo was already there, reading something on his tablet. He looked up as we entered, his eyes traveling over Sienna's outfit with barely concealed amusement. Good morning, princess. Morning, Papa. She climbed into her chair, still ignoring me. I took my seat beside her, accepting coffee from the staff member who appeared. Mateo watched our interaction, or lack thereof, with interest. How was your morning? He asked Sienna. Fine. She stabbed at her pancakes aggressively. Sienna was very independent, I offered. Got dressed all by herself. Mateo's eyes met mine, understanding passing between us. He saw what I had done, letting her win a small battle to build trust. That's my girl, he said to Sienna. Growing up so fast. After breakfast, Mateo pulled me aside while Sienna went to brush her teeth with Mrs. Lynn. You handled that well. The previous nannies would have forced her into matching clothes, started the day with a fight. She's testing boundaries. Fighting back just proves she can control the situation with tantrums. I accepted the tablet he handed me. If I give her some choices, she might start trusting me. Might. His hand brushed mine as he passed me the tablet, the contact sending unexpected electricity up my arm. But at least you understand child psychology better than you claimed in the interview. My mother was a child therapist before she remarried. I picked things up. Another detail you didn't mention. He stepped closer, and I caught his scent. Something expensive and woody. What else are you hiding, Miss Bennett? Nothing relevant to caring for your daughter. Everything about you is relevant now. You live in my house, care for my child, exist within my world. His dark eyes held mine. That makes you mine to know completely. The possessive way he said it should have frightened me. Instead, heat curled low in my stomach, inappropriate and dangerous. I should get back to Sienna, I said, stepping away. Her schedule says educational activities at 9. Of course. He didn't move, forcing me to walk past him, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. We'll talk more tonight, Miss Bennett. There is much you need to learn. I spent the day with Sienna, following the rigid schedule. Slowly, I earned microscopic amounts of trust. She let me read to her during story time. She showed me her favorite toys without being asked. By afternoon, she was speaking to me in full sentences instead of hostile monosyllables. Progress. That evening, after Sienna was in bed, Mrs. Lynn informed me that Mateo wanted to see me in his office. I climbed to the 4th floor, knocking on those massive doors. Enter. He was at his desk. Jacket removed, sleeves rolled up, tattoos visible. He had been working, but set aside his papers as I entered. Sit. He gestured to a leather sofa near the fireplace, joining me instead of staying behind his desk. Tell me about today. I recounted Sienna's behavior, the small victories, the moments of connection. He listened intently, asking questions, clearly analyzing my approach. You're good with her, he said finally. Better than I expected. She's a sweet kid under the armor, she is. But that armor exists for a reason. He poured himself scotch from a crystal decanter. Want some? I shouldn't while on duty. You're off duty once Sienna is asleep. The schedule says so. He poured a second glass, pressing it into my hand. Relax, Miss Bennett, we're just talking. The scotch burned going down, but warmed me from inside. We sat in comfortable silence, the fireplace crackling, the room cozy despite its size. Can I ask you something? I ventured. You can ask. I may not answer. Why are you raising Yenna alone? No girlfriend, no family to help. His expression darkened. My family is complicated. and relationships are difficult given my work. He swirled scotch in his glass. Sienna is better off with just me and trusted staff. Every child needs more than one parent figure. She has Mrs. Lynn, and now she has you. He looked at me directly. If you stay. Why wouldn't I? Because once you understand what living here really means, you might decide the money isn't worth it. He set down his lamppoles. But I hope you don't. I think you could be good for her. Maybe even good for this house. The way he said it, low and intense, made my pulse quicken. This was dangerous territory. Attraction to my employer, complicated by secrets and security protocols, and a little girl who needed stability. I should go, I said, standing. Early morning tomorrow. Of course. He stood as well, walking me to the door. Sleep well, Miss Bennett. And Chloe. The use of my first name stopped me. Yes? Thank you for being patient with her. For seeing past her walls. His hand came up, almost touching my face, before he stopped himself. It means more than you know. I fled to my suite, my heart racing, the scotch warm in my veins. This job was supposed to be simple. Care for a child, earn money, leave after my debts were paid. But nothing about Matteo Falcone was simple, and I was beginning to realize I had agreed to far more than childcare when I signed those contracts. 2 weeks passed in a blur of routines and small victories. Sienna slowly warmed to me, her hostility melting into cautious friendship. She let me braid her hair, read her bedtime stories, even laughed at my terrible jokes during lunch. But Matteo remained an enigma. He worked long hours, often disappearing for days at a time. When he was home, he joined us for meals, asking Sienna detailed questions about her day. His attention absolute. Then he would retreat to his office, and I wouldn't see him again until morning. Except for the nights he called me to his office after Sienna slept. These meetings started innocently. Updates on Sienna's progress, discussions about her education, adjustments to her schedule. But they always ended the same way, sitting by the fireplace, drinking scotch, talking about everything except his work. He asked about my childhood, my dreams, my fears. I asked about Sienna's mother, his family, his past. He answered some questions, deflected others, and I found myself drawn deeper into the mystery of Matteo Falcone. You never mentioned Sienna's mother's name, I said one night, emboldened by scotch and 2 weeks of curious tension between us. Clara, he stared into the fire. She was beautiful, intelligent, and completely wrong for my life. But I loved her anyway. What happened? She got pregnant. I proposed. She said yes, thinking she could handle my world. His jaw tightened. She couldn't. The stress, the secrets, the danger. It killed her slowly, even before the cancer. I'm sorry. Don't be. She gave me Sienna. That's worth everything else. He turned those dark eyes on me. Do you want children someday? The personal question caught me off guard. I don't know. Maybe. If I found the right person. What would make someone right? I don't know that either. Someone strong enough to let me be myself, I guess. Someone who doesn't need to control everything. I looked at him pointedly. His smile was dangerous. I think you would be surprised what you can handle, Chloe. The way he said my name made heat pool low in my stomach. This was wrong. He was my employer. I was here for Sienna, not to develop feelings for her intimidating, secretive father. I should go, I said, standing, running again, being professional. There is nothing professional about the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching. He stood, moving closer. Or the way you blush when I say your name. Mr. Falcone, Matteo. When we're alone, call me Matteo. That's inappropriate, so is wanting to kiss your daughter's nanny. But here we are. He stopped just inches away, close enough to touch, but not touching. Tell me you don't feel this. Because I did feel it. Had been feeling it for 2 weeks. Ignoring it desperately because acknowledging it meant complications I couldn't afford. It doesn't matter what I feel, I whispered. I work for you. I care for your daughter. Acting on attraction would be a disaster. Would it? His hand came up, finally touching my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. Or would it be the only honest thing in this house full of secrets? I should have stepped back. Should have maintained boundaries. Instead, I leaned into his touch, my eyes closing at the warmth of his hand against my skin. This is a bad idea, I breathed. Probably. His other hand found my waist, pulling me closer. But I stopped caring about good ideas the moment you walked into my office, looking terrified and determined. Matteo. He kissed me. Gentle at first, questioning, giving me a chance to pull away. When I didn't, when I instead gripped his shirt and pulled him closer, the kiss deepened into something desperate and claiming. His hands tangled in my hair, his body pressing mine against the bookshelf behind me. I tasted scotch on his tongue, felt the hard muscle beneath his shirt, surrendered to attraction I had been fighting since I met him. We broke apart, breathless, his forehead resting against mine. This changes things, he murmured. I know. I don't want you to leave. I don't want this to be temporary. His eyes held mine, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. Stay, Chloe. Not just for Sienna, stay for Mickey. I don't even know what you do, what your life really is. I know, and I'm trying to keep you separate from that, to protect you. His thumb brushed across my swollen lips. But you're right, you deserve honesty. He stepped back, moving to his desk. From a locked drawer, he withdrew a folder, offering it to me. Read this, then decide if you can stay. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Inside were documents, photographs, newspaper clippings, all about Matteo Falcone's real business. Not import, export, but organized crime, money laundering, political corruption, alleged connections to several unsolved murders. He was exactly what I had feared that first day. A criminal, dangerous, powerful, and I had just kissed him. You're Mafia, I whispered. I prefer businessmen with unconventional methods. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed. But yes, my family has operated in certain circles for 3 generations. I inherited the empire when my father died. Sienna is kept completely separate. She knows nothing about my work. She lives a normal life, attends a normal school, has normal friends. His expression hardened. That's why security is so intense. Why the contracts are so strict. I'm protecting her from my world. And now I'm in that world too, by proximity. Yes, but you're also under my protection. No one will touch you without answering to me. He moved closer again. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know, and because I want you to choose to stay with full knowledge of what that means. I looked down at the folder, at evidence of violence and criminality, at the man I just kissed who was apparently a mob boss. Every rational cell in my brain screamed to run, but I thought of Sienna, finally opening up, finally trusting me. I thought of the past 2 weeks, feeling safer and more valued than I ever had. I thought of Matteo's hands in my hair, his lips on mine, the way he looked at me like I mattered. If I stay, what does that make me? Someone brave enough to see past fear to possibility. He took the folder, setting it aside. Someone who makes my daughter smile, and makes me remember what feeling alive is like. This is insane, probably. His smile was crooked, almost vulnerable, but so is everything worth having. I should have said no. Should have packed immediately and left before I got in deeper, but I was already drowning. Had been since the moment I signed those contracts. I need time to think. Take all you need. He brushed a strand of hair from my face. But Chloe, whatever you decide, these past 2 weeks mattered. You matter. I fled to my suite, my mind racing. I lay awake until dawn, weighing options, analyzing risks, trying to separate logic from emotion. By morning, I had made my decision. I found Matteo in the breakfast room, reading the paper while waiting for Sienna. He looked up as I entered, hope and fear warring in his dark eyes. I'm staying, I said. Relief washed over his features. You're sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. I sat beside him. But we need rules. Sienna comes first, always. What happened last night doesn't happen again until I'm certain this isn't just proximity attraction. Fair enough. He reached across the table, taking my hand. But Chloe, it's not proximity. I've had plenty of staff live here. None of them made me lose sleep thinking about them. Before I could respond, Sienna bounded into the room, her curls wild from sleep. She stopped. When she saw Matteo holding my hand, her eyes going wide. Papa, are you and Chloe friends now? Matteo and I exchanged glances. Yes, princess, he said smoothly. Chloe and I are friends. Good. Sienna climbed into her chair, attacking her pancakes with enthusiasm. She's nice. I like her. After breakfast, Matteo left for business, kissing Sienna's forehead and letting his hand linger on my shoulder as he passed. The casual intimacy felt right and terrifying simultaneously. The day proceeded normally. Lessons, playtime, lunch, quiet activities. But around 3, Mrs. Lynn appeared with unusual tension in her posture. Miss Bennet, please bring Sienna to her room and stay there. Lock the door. What's wrong? Mr. Falcone's orders. Do it now. I gathered Sienna quickly, her sensing the urgency despite my calm demeanor. We went to her room and I locked the door as instructed, my heart pounding. Chloe, what's happening? Sienna's voice was small, frightened. Just being extra careful, sweetheart. Everything's fine. I pulled her onto my lap, reading from her favorite book to distract her. But I heard it. Voices downstairs. Male and aggressive, door slamming, the distinctive sound of violence. Sienna trembled against me. Is Papa okay? Your Papa is very strong. He'll be fine. I held her tighter, praying I wasn't lying. 30 minutes passed like hours. Then footsteps in the hallway and a knock on the door. Chloe, it's me, Matteo's voice. I unlocked the door, finding him disheveled but unharmed. His shirt was torn, knuckles bleeding, but he was whole. Sienna launched herself at him. Papa! He caught her, holding her close. I'm okay, princess. Everything's okay now. What happened? I asked. Business disagreement. It's handled. His eyes met mine over Sienna's head. But this is my world, Chloe. Violent, dangerous, last chance to walk away. I looked at Sienna clinging to her father. At the blood on his knuckles. At the reality of what staying meant. I thought about safe rooms and security protocols, and the fact that I had just hidden in a locked room while her father dealt with threats I couldn't imagine. "I'm not going anywhere," I said quietly. Something intense flashed in his eyes. "Then you're truly mine now. No half measures." "No half measures," I agreed. Later that night, after Sienna was asleep, I found Mateo in his bathroom cleaning his knuckles. I took the first aid kit from his hands, wordlessly tending his wounds. "You should be running," he murmured. "Probably." I wrapped gauze around his hand, but I've never been good at doing what I should. He caught my wrist, pulling me between his knees. "This afternoon, when you were locked in that room, all I could think was that if anything happened to you, if they got past me to you and Sienna, I would burn the world down." "That's dramatic. That's truth." His hands settled on my hips. "You're not just the nanny anymore, Chloe. You're something more, something I didn't expect and can't give up. What am I? Mine." He pulled me down, kissing me with desperate intensity. "Say it. This is crazy. Say it." "I'm yours," I whispered against his lips. "God help me. I'm yours." 3 months passed in a complicated dance of domesticity and danger. I cared for Sienna during the day, watched her blossom from a guarded child into a happy little girl who called me Mama Chloe when she thought I wasn't listening. At night after she slept, I belonged to Mateo. We were careful, maintaining professional boundaries in front of Sienna and staff. But in his office, in the quiet hours after midnight, we shed those pretenses. He taught me about his world, explaining operations without graphic details, helping me understand the empire he had inherited, and the rules that governed it. "It's not senseless violence," he explained one night, his fingers tracing patterns on my arm as we lay on the sofa by the fireplace. "Everything has structure, hierarchy, codes. We protect our own, punish betrayal, and maintain balance. That's just prettying up criminality. Maybe. But it's also providing for hundreds of families, protecting neighborhoods the police ignore, offering opportunity where society offers none." He turned to face me. "I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's not as simple as good versus evil. Nothing about you is simple." His smile was soft, the dangerous edge gone in these private moments. "You're learning." Sienna had started asking questions. Why did Papa have so many meetings? Why did scary men come to the house sometimes? Why couldn't she tell her friends where she lived? Mateo answered with practiced ease, spinning his criminal empire into a boring import business that required security and privacy. She accepted it, the way children accept their parents' worlds without truly understanding them. But she understood that I made her father smile, that we looked at each other in ways that made her giggle, and ask when we were getting married. Sienna asked me about us today. I told Mateo one evening, watching him work at his desk while I graded her math worksheets. "What did you tell her?" "That we're friends who care about each other very much." I set down my pen. She asked if I was going to be her new mama. He stopped typing, his attention fully on me now. "What did you say?" "That I wasn't trying to replace her mother, but that I loved her and wanted to be in her life." I hesitated. "Was that okay?" "It was perfect." He stood, moving to kneel beside my chair. "Chloe, these past 3 months have been the happiest of my life since Clara died. You've brought light back to this house, given Sienna stability, made me remember what it's like to want something beyond power and protection. Chloe, I'm falling in love with you." He took my hands. "Maybe I already have fallen. I know it's complicated. I know my world is dangerous. But I need you to know how I feel." My heart hammered against my ribs. "I think I'm falling too, but I'm scared. This life, the violence, never knowing when something dangerous will happen. I will always protect you, both of you. That's not a promise, it's a vow." His grip tightened, but I understand if it's too much, if you need to leave. I don't want to leave. I love Sienna. I love this house, this strange life we've built. I cupped his face. "And I think I love you, even though you terrify me sometimes." He pulled me from the chair, kissing me deeply. "I terrify myself sometimes, but with you, I feel like I could be more than what I was raised to be." The moment was interrupted by his phone, buzzing urgently. He checked it, his expression hardening instantly. "I have to go. Business emergency. Now, it's almost midnight. It's important." He kissed me again, quick and fierce. "Stay with Sienna. If anything happens, Mrs. Lynn knows the protocols." He left, and I tried not to let anxiety consume me. This was part of his life, part of what I had chosen. But knowing didn't make it easier. I checked on Sienna, finding her sleeping peacefully, her stuffed rabbit clutched close. She looked so innocent, so removed from her father's dangerous world. How long could Mateo keep her separate? How long before reality intruded? Around 3 in the morning, I heard the front door open, footsteps. Multiple sets moving through the house, voices speaking Italian, tense and urgent. I grabbed my phone, texting Matteo. "Are you home?" No response. The footsteps came upstairs. I moved to my door, listening, torn between checking what was happening and staying put as instructed. Then I heard it, a woman's voice, unfamiliar, speaking rapid Italian, and Matteo's response, sharp and commanding. Unable to resist, I cracked my door open. 3 people stood in the hallway: Matteo, Mrs. Lynn, and a striking woman with dark hair and expensive clothes. They were arguing in Italian, too fast for me to follow. The woman's eyes found me. "Chi è lei? Who is she?" Matteo turned, seeing me. Something flickered across his face. Guilt. "Chloe, go back inside." "No." The woman moved toward me, her heels clicking on marble. "This is the nanny, the one you've been sleeping with." My face burned. "I don't know who you are. I am Valentina Falcone, Matteo's sister." Her English was perfect, her tone ice. "And you're exactly what I warned him about. A liability disguised as innocence." "Valentina, enough." Matteo stepped between us. "Chloe is not." "Not what? Not sleeping with you? Not living in your house, influencing your daughter? Becoming part of our family business by proximity?" Valentina's eyes were dark like Matteo's, but colder. "She's a weakness, brother, and weakness gets people killed. She's under my protection. Your protection means nothing if she becomes a target. If our enemies discover you care about her, they'll use her against you." Valentina turned to me. "Do you understand what you've gotten into, girl? The danger you've brought to yourself and Sienna by becoming important to him." "I understand more than you think," I said, finding my voice. "And I'm not going anywhere." Brave words. "Let's see how brave you are when someone puts a gun to your head to make Matteo comply." She turned back to her brother. "You need to end this, send her away before it's too late." "I won't." "Then you're a fool." Valentina switched back to Italian, her words harsh and fast. Matteo responded with equal intensity, their argument escalating until Mrs. Lynn intervened quietly. Finally, Valentina stormed toward the stairs, pausing to look back at me. "Watch yourself, Nanny. Not everyone in this family will protect you like my brother does." After she left, Matteo scrubbed his hands over his face. "I'm sorry. Valentina is protective. She's right though, isn't she? I am a liability. You're not." "I am, Matteo. I've been living in a bubble, pretending this could be normal, but it's not. I'm a nanny who fell for her employer, who's caring for a child in a house filled with criminals, who's become involved with a man who has enemies that would hurt me to hurt him." "Chloe." "I'm not leaving," I interrupted, "but I need to understand fully. No more protecting me from reality. If I'm in this, I'm in completely. Teach me." He studied me for a long moment. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified. But yes, I'm sure." Over the next week, Matteo showed me his world properly. Not the sanitized version, but the real operations. He took me to meetings where I watched him command respect through presence alone. He showed me security footage of threats being neutralized. He explained the structure of his organization, the families he worked with, the enemies he kept at bay. It was worse than I had imagined, and somehow less frightening because he walked through it with complete control. "You see now why I wanted to keep you separate," he said one night, after a particularly intense business dinner I had attended as his companion. "This isn't a world for people like you. Good people. Innocent people." He poured us both wine. "You're light, Chloe. Everything I'm not. I'm not that innocent anymore. I've chosen this. Chosen you with full knowledge." I took the wine, but I need something in return. "Name it. Marry me." He choked on his wine. "What? If I'm in this life, I want it to be real. Not an affair with my employer, not a temporary arrangement. I want to be your wife. Sienna's stepmother, officially part of this family." I set down my glass. "Is that too much to ask? You want to marry into the Mafia? I want to marry you. The Mafia comes with the package." I moved closer. "Unless you don't want to." He kissed me, cutting off my words. "I want. God, I want. I've wanted since the moment you stood up to Sienna's tantrums without flinching." He pressed his forehead to mine. "But marriage means you're truly in this. No going back. Are you ready for that?" "I've been ready since I chose to stay the first time. Then yes. 1,000 times yes." He pulled a small box from his desk drawer, opening it to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "I bought this 2 weeks ago, waiting for the right moment to ask. But you beat me to it." I laughed, tears streaming down my face as he slipped it on my finger. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since you told Sienna you loved her. Since you looked at my bloody knuckles and didn't run. Since every moment that showed me you're strong enough for this life." He kissed me again. "We'll do it quietly. Small ceremony, just family." "Will Valentina accept it?" "She'll have to. You're about to become a Falcone. That means she protects you like she protects me and Sienna." He smiled. "Welcome to the family, future Mrs. Falcone." We told Sienna the next morning at breakfast. She stared at my ring, then at us, her eyes growing wide. You're getting married? Chloe is going to be my real mama? If that's okay with you, I said carefully. She launched herself at me, wrapping small arms around my neck. Yes, 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 yes. I prayed for this. I asked Mama in heaven to send me someone nice, and she sent you. Over her head, Mateo's eyes met mine, both of us blinking back tears. We married 3 weeks later in a small ceremony at the house. Valentina attended, her expression neutral but no longer hostile. Mrs. Lynn cried. Sienna was flower girl, taking her job so seriously we all laughed. When Mateo slipped the wedding band on my finger, promising to love and protect me until death, I knew I had made the right choice. This life was complicated and dangerous, but it was mine, he was mine, Sienna was mine. That night, Mateo carried me over the threshold to his master suite. Our suite now. Sienna was sleeping at Mrs. Lynn's apartment for the night, giving us privacy. Mrs. Falcone, he murmured against my neck. My wife, Mr. Falcone, I responded. My criminally handsome husband. He laughed, the sound free and happy. You're insane for choosing this. Insane for choosing you, I corrected. But I choose you again every time. He laid me on the bed, covering my body with his. I'll spend every day making sure you never regret it. I know you will. As he kissed me, his hands beginning the slow exploration of husband claiming wife, I thought about the job posting that had seemed too good to be true. About the girl who had applied desperately, knowing nothing about the man who would hire her. I had come here for money, stayed for Sienna, and found something I had never expected. A home, a family, a love worth fighting for. The nanny job had been a cover. What I had really signed up for was a life. And I wouldn't change a single dangerous, complicated, beautiful moment. 6 months into our marriage, life settled into a rhythm that balanced normality and danger. Sienna thrived, calling me Mama Chloe, without hesitation. Mateo's business continued its dark operations, but he kept his promise to protect us, to separate our family life from his empire as much as possible. But nothing stays separate forever. It started with small things. A car following us to Sienna's school. Strange men photographing the house. Phone calls that made Mateo's expression go cold. He increased security, added more guards, restricted our movements without explanation. What's happening? I demanded one night after he had canceled another family outing. Nothing you need to worry about. Don't do that. Don't shut me out. I moved to face him. I'm your wife. We're supposed to face things together. He sighed, pulling me onto his lap. There's a territorial dispute. Another family wants control of operations I oversee. They're applying pressure, testing boundaries. And where the boundaries? You and Sienna are my most vulnerable points. They know that. His arms tightened around me. I won't let anything happen to either of you. I've doubled security, limited our public appearances, taken every precaution. For how long? Until it's resolved. One way or another. The threat hung over us like a storm cloud. Valentina visited more frequently, bringing soldiers who stationed themselves throughout the house. Sienna noticed, asking why there were so many new security guards, her innocent questions breaking my heart. 2 weeks later, everything came to a head. I was at the park with Sienna, 4 bodyguards surrounding us discreetly. She played on the swings, laughing while I watched from a bench, my phone ready to call Mateo at the first sign of trouble. A woman approached, elegant and smiling. Your daughter is beautiful. Thank you. I kept my tone polite but distant. You're Chloe Falcone, yes? Mateo's new wife. She sat beside me without invitation. I am Camilla Rossi. My husband works with your husband sometimes. Every instinct screamed danger. I don't discuss my husband's business. Smart girl, but I'm not here about business. She watched Sienna swing higher. I'm here about survival, your survival specifically. My blood ran cold. What do you want? To warn you. My husband, Marco. He's planning something. Something that involves you and your stepdaughter. She turned to look at me directly. He thinks taking you will force Mateo's compliance. And he's right. Why are you telling me this? Because I have daughters, and I wouldn't want them caught in my husband's wars. She stood. Be careful, Mrs. Falcone. Trust no one. Not even the people protecting you. She walked away before I could respond, disappearing into the crowd. I grabbed Sienna immediately, signaling the guards. We returned to the townhouse in tense silence. Sienna sensing my fear despite my attempts to hide it. Mateo was home when we arrived, unusual for midday. One look at my face, and he dismissed everyone, pulling me into his office. What happened? I told him about Camilla. Her warning, the implication that our own security might be compromised. His expression grew darker with each word. Rossi. He pulled out his phone, barking orders in Italian. I should have dealt with him weeks ago. What are you going to do? End this tonight. He cupped my face. I need you to take Sienna to the safe house. Mrs. Lynn will go with you. You will stay there until I send word. What safe house? The one I prepared the day we married. in case something like this happened. He kissed me hard. Pack for 3 days. Essentials only. You leave in 20 minutes. Mateo, I'm scared. I know, but you're also strong. You will protect Sienna, follow protocols, and trust that I will come for you. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. I love you. Both of you. That's why you have to go. Mrs. Lynn appeared with 2 bags already packed. She moved with military efficiency, gathering Sienna, explaining to her that we were taking a special trip for a few daisies. Sienna looked between us, her blue eyes too knowing. Is Papa in danger? Your Papa is very strong, I said, kneeling to her level. But he needs to work without worrying about us, so we're going somewhere safe until he's done. Will he come get us? Always. I hugged her tight. He will always come for us. The safe house was in Connecticut, a small cottage on 5 acres, surrounded by woods and equipped with security measures that rivaled Fort Knox. Mrs. Lynn settled us in, checking weapons I didn't know she could use, establishing patrol patterns with the 2 guards who had accompanied us. That night, after Sienna finally fell asleep, I sat by the window, my phone clutched in my hand, waiting for word from Mateo. It came at 2 a.m. It is done. Coming for you tomorrow. I love you. Relief flooded through me so intensely I sobbed. Mrs. Lynn appeared, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. He's all right, I managed. Of course he is. Mr. Falcone always survives. She patted my shoulder. You should rest. Tomorrow you go home. But I couldn't sleep. Couldn't stop imagining what it is done meant. What Mateo had done to Marco Rossi to end the threat. What violence had been committed in my name to protect me and Sienna. Mateo arrived at noon, driving us himself in an unmarked car. He looked exhausted, his clothes rumpled but unharmed. Sienna ran to him, and he scooped her up, holding her so tight she squeaked. Then his eyes found me over her head. And I saw everything in them, relief, love, and darkness that hadn't been there before. After Sienna was distracted with lunch, Mateo pulled me aside. Rossi is dead. His entire operation dismantled. No one will threaten my family again. His voice was flat, emotionless. I did things last night that you should never have to know about, but we're safe. Completely. I made an example that will outlast our generation. He pulled me close. But I need you to understand. This is what protecting you means. Blood and violence and decisions that haunt me. Can you live with that? I thought about Sienna laughing at lunch, about the life we had built, about the man who had just murdered to keep us safe. I thought about Camilla Rossi, probably now a widow, her warning having come too late to save her husband. I can live with it, I said quietly, because the alternative is living without you. And that's not living at all. His kiss was desperate, grateful, claiming, I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. We returned to the townhouse that evening. Life resumed its complicated normality, but something had shifted. I understood now, truly, what being a Falcone meant. The protection came with a price, paid in blood by my husband's hands. 2 months later, I discovered I was pregnant. I stared at the positive test, emotions warring within me, joy at the life growing inside me, terror at bringing another child into this dangerous world. How could I raise a baby in a house protected by armed guards, surrounded by violence disguised as legitimate business? Mateo found me sitting on the bathroom floor, the test beside me. He knelt, picking it up, his expression transforming from confusion to wonder. You're pregnant? Yes. Tears streamed down my face. I don't know if I can do this, Mateo. Sienna is one thing. But a baby? Our baby? In this life? He pulled me into his arms, holding me as I cried. I know you're scared. God, I'm terrified. But we'll figure it out together. Like everything else. What if something happens? What if you're enemies? They won't touch our child. I will burn the world down before I let anyone harm our family. He tilted my face up. This baby is a gift, Chloe. A life we created out of love. Yes, my world is dangerous, but it's also ours. And we will protect this child like we protect Sienna. Promise me something, anything. Promise that if it ever becomes too dangerous, if staying means risking our children, you will walk away from the business, from everything. Promise we will disappear if we have to. He was silent for a long moment, and I knew what I was asking. To abandon his empire, his family legacy, everything he had built. I promise, he said finally. If it comes to that choice, I choose you. Always. We told Sienna over dinner, watching her face light up with excitement about becoming a big sister. She immediately started planning the nursery, listing baby names, asking if she could help feed the baby. That night, lying in bed with Mateo's hand on my still flat stomach, I felt peace settle over me. This life was complicated and dangerous. Nothing like what I had imagined when I applied for that nanny job. But it was mine. This family, this strange, violent, loving world. I had chosen it, and it had chosen me back. I love you, I whispered into the darkness. I love you more, Mateo responded, his voice thick with emotion. Both you, all of you, my entire world. 7 months later, I gave birth to a boy. We named him Leo after Mateo's grandfather. Sienna took her role as big sister seriously, always nearby helping with bottles and diapers, singing lullabies she had learned from Mrs. Lynn. Mateo was a devoted father, spending every free moment with his children. I watched him read bedtime stories, his tattooed arms cradling our son, his expression soft in ways the world never saw. This was the man behind the reputation, the father, the husband, the protector who would kill for us without hesitation. Life continued its careful balance. Threats came and went, always handled before they reached us. Mateo's reputation grew, his empire expanding, his enemies learning not to test his limits. Sienna started first grade. Leo took his first steps. I photographed every moment, documenting our unconventional but beautiful family. One evening, watching Mateo teach Sienna to ride a bike while Leo napped on my chest, Mrs. Lynn sat beside me. "You've given him something I never thought he'd have," she said quietly. "What's that?" "Peace. Family reasons to come home." She smiled. That job posting was meant to find a nanny. But Mr. Falcone found so much more. I found more too. A family I didn't know I needed. "And you're not scared anymore? Of this life?" I looked at Mateo catching Sienna as she wobbled, his laugh carrying across the garden. "I'm still scared sometimes. But fear doesn't matter as much as love, and I love them more than I fear anything this world can throw at us. That's what makes you strong enough to be a Falcone." That night, after the children were asleep, Mateo and I stood on our bedroom balcony, overlooking the garden, his arms around me, our future spreading before us. "Any regrets?" he asked. "About that job posting? About choosing this life?" "Not even one." I turned in his arms. "Best mistake I ever made. It wasn't a mistake. It was fate." He kissed me softly. I was looking for a nanny and found my everything. 5 years after that fateful job application, I stood in our renovated kitchen watching morning chaos unfold with practiced ease. Sienna, now 10, helped 6-year-old Leo with his cereal, while 3-year-old Mia, our surprise third child, banged her spoon demanding attention. "Mama, Leo is being annoying," Sienna complained, her Italian accent creeping in, picked up from her father and extended family. "I'm not." Leo defended himself in the mix of English and Italian that was normal in our household. "Both of you eat," I said, pouring coffee. "We leave for school at 20 minutes. Mateo appeared, already dressed in a suit, his hair perfectly styled, looking every inch the powerful businessman he pretended to be. He kissed Mia's head, ruffled Leo's hair, squeezed Sienna's shoulder, then pulled me close for a proper kiss. "Good morning, Mrs. Falcone." "Good morning yourself." I straightened his tie. "You have the meeting with the Lombardi family tonight, right?" "At 8. I'll be home by midnight." He lowered his voice. "Security detail stays close to you today. We're still negotiating terms, and I don't trust Carlo completely. This was our life now." Breakfast table discussions about school projects mixed with whispered warnings about territorial negotiations. The children knew their father's business was complicated, but we had managed to keep the worst from them. Sienna, however, was getting old enough to ask harder questions. After Leo and Mia were sent to brush their teeth, she lingered at the table. "Papa, why do we have so many bodyguards? My friends don't." Mateo exchanged glances with me before sitting beside her. "Because my work sometimes makes people jealous or angry. The guards are just precautions. Like insurance." "Exactly like insurance," I added. "Probably unnecessary, but better to have it." He tucked hair behind her ear. "Does it bother you sometimes?" Jenny asked why a man follows me everywhere. I didn't know what to say. "Tell her your father is overprotective," which is true. He smiled, "And Sienna, if you ever feel unsafe, even a little bit, you tell me or Mama immediately." "Promise?" "I promise." She hugged him. "I love you, Papa. I love you more, Princess." After the school run, accompanied by 2 SUVs full of security, I returned home to find Valentina waiting in the living room. Mateo's sisters had softened toward me over the years, especially after Mia was born. She had held my hand through labor, whispered prayers in Italian, and cried when she held her niece for the first time. "We need to talk," she said, her expression serious. Mrs. Lynn appeared to take Mia to her playroom, leaving us alone. I sat across from Valentina, anxiety building. "What's wrong?" "Nothing yet, but there's a situation developing." She pulled out her tablet, showing me surveillance photos of a man I didn't recognize. Lorenzo Romano. He's challenging Mateo's territories, making alliances with families that should know better. Mateo mentioned negotiations. The negotiations are a show. Lorenzo wants war. He thinks Mateo has gone soft since marrying you, having children. Her eyes hardened. "He thinks family makes my brother weak." "He's wrong, we know that. But Lorenzo is young, ambitious, and stupid. A dangerous combination." She set down the tablet. "Mateo won't tell you this because he wants you to feel safe. But I think you deserve to know. The threat level is higher than it's been in years. My stomach clenched. How high? High enough that I'm here, instead of handling business in Boston. High enough that Mateo's called in markers from every family that owes him. She leaned forward. Chloe, if things escalate, you and the children will need to disappear temporarily, just until it's resolved. Run away? Leave Mateo alone to face this, to keep safe so he can face it without distraction. His enemies know the fastest way to destroy him is through his family. Her expression softened. I know you want to stand beside him, but sometimes the bravest thing is strategic retreat. I thought about my children. Their innocent faces, their normal lives that existed because of careful protection. Could I put them at risk to stay beside Mateo, or was protecting them the greater priority? If it comes to that, I'll go. For the children. I met her eyes. But I'll hate every second. That's what makes you right for him. You understand sacrifice. She stood. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Mateo is very motivated to resolve this quickly. That evening, after the children were in bed, I waited in our bedroom for Mateo to return from his meeting. He came home at 1 a.m, exhaustion and tension evident in every line of his body. How did it go? Exactly as expected. Lorenzo refused every reasonable offer, made demands he knows I won't accept. He stripped off his jacket, revealing the shoulder holster he had started wearing again. He wants war. And at this point, I'm ready to give it to him. Valentina talked to me today about contingency plans. He froze. She shouldn't have. I'm glad she did. I need to know what we're facing. I moved him, taking his hands. And I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant again. His eyes widened. What? 8 weeks. I found out this morning. I placed his hand on my still flat stomach. I know the timing is terrible. The timing is perfect. He pulled me close, his face buried in my hair. Another reason to end this quickly. To protect what's ours. Chloe, if you need us to leave, to take the children somewhere safe. Not yet. I'm handling this. He pulled back to look at me. But Chloe, if I tell you to go, you don't argue. You take our babies and you disappear until I come for you. Can you do that? Yes. Tears burned my eyes, but you better come for us, always. Nothing and no one will keep me from my family. He kissed me, desperate and claiming. I promise you this ends soon. One way or another. The next 2 weeks were tense. Security increased daily. Mateo barely slept, always on his phone, coordinating with allies, planning strategies I wasn't privy to. The children sensed the change, becoming clingy and quiet. Then, one Tuesday morning, everything came to a head. I was making breakfast when Mrs. Lynn rushed in, her normally composed face pale. Take the children upstairs now. Don't ask questions. My training kicked in instantly. Grabbed Mia, calling for Sienna and Leo. Playroom? Now. Special game. They knew that tone meant obedience. We ran upstairs to the playroom that doubled as a safe room. Steel door disguised as normal wood. Inside, I locked us in, pulling up the security feeds on the hidden monitors. Men were approaching the house. Not our guards. Strangers, heavily armed, moving with military precision. My phone buzzed with Mateo's message. Stay locked in, don't open for anyone but me. I'm coming. Mama, what's happening? Sienna's voice was scared but controlled. Just being extra careful. Sweetheart. I pulled all 3 children close. My hand on the gun Mrs. Lynn had taught me to use years ago, hoping I would never need it. We heard gunfire, shouting. The sounds of violence filtering through walls and floors. Mia whimpered. Leo's eyes went wide, and Sienna wrapped her arms around her siblings. It's okay, I whispered, praying I wasn't lying. Papa's coming. He'll fix this. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Then footsteps on the stairs, purposeful and heavy. A knock on the safe room door. Chloe, it's me. Open up. Mateo's voice, but I had been trained better. What did you say to me the night I told you I was pregnant with Leo? A pause. That you were giving me the world in a person, and I would never be able to thank you enough. I unlocked the door. Mateo stood there. Blood on his shirt, but whole and alive. Behind him, I saw bodies being removed, our guards securing the area. The children launched themselves at him, and he caught them, holding all 3 while his eyes found mine over their heads. It's over. Lorenzo and his people are done. You're safe. That night, after the children finally slept and the house was cleared and secured, Mateo and I sat on our bedroom floor too wired to sleep. I killed 6 men today, he said quietly. 6 men who came to my home, threatened my children, tried to destroy everything I've built. I'm sorry you had to do that. I'm not. They made their choice when they came here. He pulled me close. But Chloe, this life, the constant threats, the violence always lurking. Is this really what you want for our children? What are you saying? That maybe Valentina was right years ago. Maybe you are a weakness. Not because you make me soft, but because you make me realize what I could lose. He cupped my face. What if we left? All of us. Let Valentina run the business. Disappear somewhere quiet. Raise our children without guards in safe rooms. I stared at him, shocked. You would give up your empire? For you? For them? In a heartbeat. His eyes were serious. I have enough money to support us for 10 lifetimes. We could go anywhere, be anyone. The children could have normal lives. But this is your legacy, your family's history. And they are my future. You're my future. He pressed his forehead to mine. I'm tired, Chloe. Tired of looking over my shoulder, of measuring every threat, of killing to protect what's mine. I want to just live, with you, with our babies. Tears streamed down my face. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything, except loving you. We spent the next month carefully extracting Matteo from his empire. Valentina took over operations, grateful but concerned. We liquidated assets, created new identities, planned our escape with the same precision Matteo had used to build his criminal empire. The children thought it was an adventure, moving to a new house in a different place. We told them Papa was retiring, starting fresh, that we were going somewhere beautiful and safe. We settled in a small coastal town in Oregon. Far from New York, far from the Falcone name and everything it carried. Matteo became David Sterling, a consultant. I remained Chloe, a photographer and mother. The children adjusted with resilience, making new friends, attending normal schools without security details. 6 months into our new life, I gave birth to twin girls. Sienna held them first, tears of joy streaming down her face. Leo declared himself their protector. Mia just wanted to know if they could share her toys. Matteo held our newborn daughters, his expression peaceful in a way I had never seen in New York. No regrets? I asked. Not even one. He kissed me softly. I was the head of a criminal empire, but here, I'm just a father, a husband, a man trying to be worthy of his family. He looked at our children, all 5 of them crowded on the hospital bed. This is my empire now, and it's more valuable than anything I left behind. That night, watching the Oregon sunset paint our hospital room gold, I thought about the job posting that changed my life, about the terrified girl who had applied out of desperation, never imagining she would end up here. I had been hired to care for a Mafia boss's daughter. Instead, I had become his wife, the mother of his children, and eventually the reason he walked away from everything to build something better. Thank you, Matteo whispered, as our family settled in for the night. For what? For seeing past the monster to the man. For giving me reasons to change. For loving me enough to let me be more than what I was. You were never a monster. You were just a man doing what he thought he had to do. I took his hand, and now you're a man doing what he wants to do. That's growth. He laughed quietly. Only you would see abandoning a criminal empire as personal growth. It is. You chose love over power, family over fear. I gestured to our sleeping children. You chose them. That's everything. Years later, when people asked how we met, we would tell them I was his daughter's nanny. And he fell in love with how I handled his complicated life. It was true, just edited for public consumption. The whole truth was messier. I had applied for a job online, not knowing I would be raising a Mafia boss's daughter. I had fallen for a dangerous man who killed to protect what was his. I had become part of a criminal empire, learned to navigate violence and danger, and eventually convinced him to walk away from it all. It was the best mistake I ever made, and our children would grow up never knowing their father's past, never living in fear, never understanding the sacrifice he had made to give them normality. That was our gift to them. Freedom from his legacy, bought with his decision to choose love over power, and every single day watching Matteo, David now, play with our children on a safe, quiet beach far from New York. I knew he had made the right choice. We both had.